Linux Action Show is created by Jupiter Broadcasting. It's sponsored by Ting. Go to last.ting.com to save off your first device or plan. And DigitalOcean. Go to digitalocean.com and use the promo code Here's the Thing, all one word like you're slurring it, and spin up your own Linux rig for free. And Linux Academy. Go to linuxacademy.com/unplugged and invest in your mind while saving some money. Welcome to the Linux Action Show, episode 466. My name is Chris.
My name is Noah.
Well, hello there, Mr. In-Studio Noah. It's good to see you. In fact, it's going to be great. We have 3 episodes, counting this episode, left of the Linux Action Show, and Noah will be hanging out in studio. All 3. Well, actually, one of them is going to be at Linux Fest, so it'll be in studio and live at Linux Fest. We have a great show coming up. If you're watching the video feed, you've already noticed there's some hardware sitting in front of us. We have a tale of laptop woes and laptop wins this week. It's a bit of a treacherous path, but we'll walk you down what's gone on, and we'll walk you through the hardware sitting in front of us right now. It's a pretty interesting story, and I can't wait to give you some of the things that we tried. Also, we're going to talk about the larger context of Canonical ending Unity. There is a human aspect to it that we've talked a little bit about in the past, but now we've got some possible numbers, we've had some big shifts, and a few theories about where all of this is going. So we'll talk about that coming up in the news, as well as some big features that I'm really excited about coming to the next version of the stable Linux kernel, as well as a few other little tidbits from the news. Then we'll get to the feedback and picks. But Noah, do you know what we're going to start with right here, now?
Not the picks?
Nope, the news.
Oh, okay.
We're going to start with the news. We've been trying out different formats as we wrap up the show, and I think people have been liking a little warm-up with the news.
Okay.
And I think there's probably a few things to cover that are worth diving into this week. There's maybe a few other things going on that we'll come up with if we have time. But I want to start.
My objection to starting with the news is I don't get to say the news. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could say the news.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to just say the news
that would.
Okay, go.
The news.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can start.
Good.
Okay,
all right,
great.
Okay. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's going on at Canonical. Of course, what do we really know? Not much, because the folks who work for Canonical have been extremely tight-lipped this entire time. They're not really sharing any details. So we just know either what people have shared with the press or what people have dug up. But this is coming from the Register, and it writes that more than 80 workers at Canonical could be facing layoffs. And Mark Shuttleworth has taken back the role of the CEO. These are major changes. So Jane Sibler, I believe, has been running it for about the last 7 years. Mm-hmm. She's going to join the board of directors, so she'll still be around, but Mark will be taking over the day-to-day operation in the CEO role. It looks like 31 more staffers have left presently, with 26 others on formal notice. I mean, these are some very specific numbers that the Register seems to have here. I don't know how valid these numbers actually are. Boy, when you look at this, though, a couple of things that jump out at me as a really rough aspect of like the human side of this. In the UK, there's a process that you go through where you notify everyone at the staff of the intentions of the company, mm-hmm. and you notify them that there will be layoffs. And once you start that process, you have to notify them. Mm-hmm. So there's sort of like this swinging axe like hanging over everyone's head while they just go about their business for like the next month to find out if they're one of the folks that get laid off.
Right.
Like, I like it in some sense because, here in the States, especially in Washington where it's a right to work state, you could just one day find out you've lost your job. You're out of here. See you later. Thanks for working for us, depending on the employment arrangement. Yeah.
But at least there was no torture leading up to that. Yeah,
I'm not sure which is better. I'm honestly not sure which is better, but from a human side, this is just awful. And if you think about it, if they had a lot of folks working on the Unity 8 and the mobile stuff, mm-hmm. and you're no longer doing that, like, you could probably find a spot for some of those people. But the vast majority are going to have to go.
Well, if you think about it, though, so what are those numbers again? You said 30 and 30, basically? 26?
So 30 have already been let go, right. I think is what the number. Let me, I'll reread it for you. So 31 staffers have already left, and 26 others are on formal notice.
Okay, so that's we're talking about roughly 60. So that's a little under 10% of their employment base.
Yeah.
Whew. And I think, weren't early projections as high as 30%?
I wouldn't be surprised, though, if that's just what's been if that's what's happened so far. Because the way the rest of the article is stated here is it looks like there's a process.
That's what I mean. That's where I'm going. I think they're high. I think their initial estimates where they would do head cuts as high as 30%, and that's only 10. So I think this is just a beginning. which is kind of a it's a sad state of affairs.
I've been spending a lot of my time thinking about the story about, boy, how crazy this is going to be for GNOME. Like, so many people will be working on GNOME now. And the other thing that struck me about this last night, while I was just running this over again for like the 100th time in my head, is now if you want to contribute to the Canonical desktop, to Ubuntu's desktop, you don't have to worry about the contributors agreement.
The
contributor, because you could just go upstream to GNOME now, if you're working on something for the desktop. That huge problem for contributing to the desktop could be gone now. That's a big deal.
And honestly, I think that will largely help them, because there was a lot of people, I think, that withheld contributions to Unity specific things because of that contributor agreement. So I think overall, I think that will work out very well for them.
Now, the other thing I was kind of chewing on is this to me seems sort of like, well, if you keep history in mind, if you keep Mark's history in mind, he made his fortune by selling thwart, right? So he's not opposed to selling something that he's built up and created.
Yes.
So if you just run down the numbers. So they bring in a consulting firm to do sort of an audit of Canonical. They look at everything and they tell them the bad news that everybody already knew but didn't want to admit. You've got a lot of redundancies here. You're focusing on mobile. It's an uphill battle. You're going up against Android. Meanwhile, you're winning big on cloud, and you have hardware vendors today interested in your IoT solutions.
Right.
You really should be focusing on this, not focusing so much on the phone and on convergence. Everybody knew that. Nobody wants to admit it.
Yes.
So this professional company comes in. I've been there before when you bring in the outside firm to come in and do these kind of recommendations.
Right.
And it always leads to layoffs and changes. So they come in, they deliver the bad news that everybody knows. Mark says, okay, I'm taking back over the CEO role. Jane, thank you so much for your hard work for the past 7 years. She steps into the board, and Mark says, here's the other thing we're going to do. We're going to follow the recommendations of this firm, and we're going to clean up house. We're going to trim up the portfolio, make things look nice and tight. We're going to focus on the things that make us money, the things the industry knows makes us money, and we're going to keep our toe in the desktop water, but we're going to significantly de-invest in the desktop. We're not going to roll our own desktop. We're not going to create our own solutions for that. We're just going to ship upstream like we used to when we were a smaller, tighter staff with less resources, so that way that takes less from us. And the only reason I can really think to do that is either he's completely given up on Linux on the desktop, or he's making a calculated move to try to reduce the liability and amount of work that takes so they're more attractive to a buyer.
Right.
Because you could easily sell to an Amazon, a Microsoft, a lot of different, a Dell, a lot of different companies if you're targeting Internet of Things and the cloud, because everybody wants a piece.
Right.
That's how you get in cloud, you get money right now. Everybody wants it on that, and storage and IoT. That's why I think Dell would be a great.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, to me, I don't know how to interpret this any other way, because you look at it, it looks like Mark is tidying house to make it more attractive for a purchase.
Yeah, and I don't know he was specifically asked about that. Mark specifically was asked, why are you making these changes? And he said it was just an experiment. It's an exercise to become more attractive to buyers. But the question is, why would you practice that exercise unless you actually wanted to be attractive to buyers? And I think right now we're at a time when, you mentioned Microsoft, that might make a lot of sense for them, because
you think?
So they have
It also seems like it could. Well, I mean, back in the day, it would have backfired huge.
Yeah,
maybe not today.
I don't know. They're desperate to get a hold of that developer market and to bring those people back from the Mac onto Windows. And as what you're seeing is, as Apple continually screws up, those people are not going back to Windows. They're actually going further towards Ubuntu.
I don't think they give two shits about the desktop market at all. I think it's all about the fact that Ubuntu ate their lunch on servers.
I think that's a long lost battle. I don't think that's coming back anytime soon.
But you buy Canonical, and all of a sudden, overnight, you're back in the game.
Yeah, and the interesting thing from that perspective is, if Microsoft does that, they position themselves instantaneously to sell support for $1,000 a server, $2,000 a server, and people gladly pay that. I mean, I would probably look into the cost effectiveness of buying support from Microsoft for Canonical servers if they owned it.
If I'm Microsoft and I look at the purchasing price of Canonical, I say to myself, that's worth the licensing cost of just being able to ship Ubuntu in Windows VMs.
Yeah,
that's worth us just being able to have anything we want Ubuntu Azure. So I could see it definitely, but I would not see them very interested in the desktop market. I would see them essentially say, well, we'll let the community continue to respin our server release if they want, but we're not even going to bother repackaging GNOME upstream. If Microsoft bought them, if Dell bought them, Dell would still ship laptops and hardware.
See, I think I can agree to a point, but if you think about it, if that was the case, if they had no interest in pulling in that desktop market, why work on getting Ubuntu into Bash? I think they're interested in pulling some. I
enough.
think there's
Yeah,
a
fair
market
enough.
there, and I think they're interested in pulling some of those people back. And I think that might be a way for them to do it. They can
Yeah,
kill two
fair
birds with
enough.
one
Yeah,
stone.
because there is definite appeal to running on your desktop, which you run on your server, and Microsoft knows that better than anybody because they exploited that with NT to get on.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, okay, maybe so. Either way, it seems like that could be a possibility. What's happening is house is getting tidied up and getting ready to be sold. Because see, I'll give you this too. Like, what made me think about this was Shuttleworth didn't get into Ubuntu and didn't start Canonical to take over the cloud.
Right.
He wanted to package and ship up a usable, nice, GNOME-based Debian desktop for human beings.
Right.
And then he wanted to get into mobile and convergence, again, another consumer-facing technology to disrupt desktop-type usage.
Yes.
I feel like their success in the cloud is definitely because of some strategic moves and partnerships that they've made and decisions. But also, in part, it's because they just made a really great Debian with a timely 6-month release cycle.
Right.
And then they came out with an LTS version, and it took off like wildfire on the server. And I don't mean to be insulting when I say this, but in some senses, Canonical fell backwards into success with the server. Now, I don't mean to diminish but they made, they obviously made moves to position themselves too. But it's sort of like they had success on the server despite the mobile efforts, despite the desktop efforts. What really took off was VPSs became a thing.
Yes.
And when VPSs became a thing, Ubuntu just exploded. And that success is not what seems to have ever gotten Mark all that excited. It was the desktop, and then it was disrupting mobile.
Yeah.
And the cloud was like this way that they were financing those initiatives.
Right.
And so now that they're refocusing the entire company on cloud, and I guess maybe he's passionate about IoT, but all this stuff. While Mark's very smart and he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's got a good scope on the market, and he's very aware of the competitive landscape, it never seems to be his personal drive. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was positioning it for selling. So he gets it all leaned up, he gets it competitive for that market, and then he sells it. That could be his MO.
Which I'm happy about, because really he has the best interest of his users in mind, not big companies that are faceless companies that are deploying this stuff. He cares about the people like you and I who want to run this stuff, and our other people who are passionate about Linux and Ubuntu. So I think really I prefer somebody like Mark Shuttleworth in charge of the project, and I think that we'd be worse off if a Microsoft or a whoever bought
because if long as they didn't screw with the basic formula, you could still have your Ubuntu Mate's, your elementary OSs, your Ubuntu's, your KDE Neons, like those all could still exist if Microsoft didn't ship an official desktop flavor.
Yeah, that's true. And I think they would. I don't think they would kill it.
They'd probably just do GNOME 3. That's all right. Well, we've got a lot more to get into, including another Ubuntu story and the kernel feature. I swear to God, I've been waiting for like 3 years for finally landing. But first, I want to thank Ting. Go to last.ting.com. That'll save $25 off a device if you don't have one. And if you do have one, CDMA or GSM, you get $25 in service credit. Now, that's sweet, because this gives you an idea of what a value Ting is. Your average monthly bill is $23. Because it's just pay for what you use wireless. Minutes, messages, and megabytes. Ting adds them all up, whatever bucket you fall into, that's what you pay. Plus, it's $6 for the line and Uncle Sam's taxes. Each line, $6. If you're a small business, this is a crazy great way to get connectivity for your team. And one of the really nice things about Ting is there's no contracts, there's no agreements, no service plans. You just pay for what you want and then you turn it off. When we have people that come in for Linux Fest Northwest, it's not a big deal for Jupiter Broadcasting to light up a couple extra lines for 1 month. I love it. So nice from a business standpoint and also from a family standpoint. Last.ting.com. Go there, enjoy the benefits of excellent customer service. Instead of digging holes in the ground and fighting local laws and building towers, Ting's been able to invest in an incredible customer service infrastructure that works right there in their office, and they have an incredible dashboard. And this is such a nice thing for somebody like me, because the only time I have time to take care of my cellular plan stuff is like at 10 o'clock at night when everybody's gone to bed and I don't want to call anybody. I just want to log in and use a great dashboard that just makes it simple, that isn't trying to hide, isn't trying to upsell. That's why I really appreciate Ting. And if I ever do get stuck, like the one time I was on my way over to Noah's and my MiFi went out on me, Ting just went above and beyond. I see people tweet me like pictures of postcards that Ting customer service reps send them afterwards and stuff.
They sent me a nice little like a little bag kind of a thing the last time I bought a phone from them, and it was like I actually use that bag for a lot of different things now. It sounds like a silly thing, but it's actually kind of cool.
That's nice, dude. So you know what? If you want to get a bag, go to last.ting.com and grab a device. Also, while you're there, if you're not ready to switch Ding, but you just want to learn a little bit about maybe speeding up your phone and cleaning things up, a little spring cleaning for your smartphone, they got articles on that for internet phone and for Android on the Ting blog. Just do me a favor and start by going to last.ting.com, and thanks to Ting for sponsoring the Linux Action Show. All right, so we have some Ubuntu news. We have a little more Ubuntu news, and then we'll move on. So we have 17.10 release date. Looks like it's going to be October-ish, October 19th if all goes as planned. Artful Aardvark is the name. That's not what matters, though. This is actually going to be the first release to ship with GNOME. It will not be the LTS.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Smart move.
I agree. Sometime not in an LTS where you can work out some of the bugs. You don't want to make a major change in an LTS.
I also don't know why, but I feel like this gives them more room to ship an LTS that isn't just stock GNOME. Mm-hmm. As a big GNOME fan, I'll say this: stock GNOME is. There's just no way. There's no way you can ship stock GNOME. Not with the Adwadia theme. Not with no extensions installed. I just don't see Ubuntu doing that. So if they do 17.10 and they can do their stock GNOME like everybody said, and then they can watch all of the feedback and see all the little things people tweaked, all the little things people changed, they can take the most average basic stuff from that, the most easy to support stuff from all of that, condense it down, and ship it in the LTS release. And that, I think, will be the sweet spot. And that's my prediction of what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really great idea for them to ship it in 17.10. And the other thing is I'm excited to see what Ubuntu GNOME can offer once it has the full backing of Canonical behind it.
Yeah, and that many more users looking at bugs, and that many more users creating themes. Like, you're already seeing way more themes in the last few months. In fact, also, OMG Ubuntu totally stepping up to the plate since this Unity news. Joey's busting it over there, writing a ton of good stuff. It's like, so let's take a look at this. So I'm just at the OMG site right here. Besides the typical news stuff that he has, he's got a whole bunch of stuff like, if you're coming to GNOME for the first time, because you're hearing all this news, and you want to try these things out, he's got this great flat fork of the ambience theme for GNOME right here.
Nice.
He's got this article on making Qt apps feel at home on GNOME. He's got the coverage of the KDE fans that are trying to get Canonical to ship Plasma instead. And look at this. I mean, he's posting a couple times a day right now, like 3 posts on Friday. I mean, Joey is hustling over there at OMG Ubuntu since this news, and I've been finding it a really great resource.
Yeah, that's really great, especially for people that maybe have they downloaded Ubuntu and they just kind of stuck with Unity, and so the concept of GNOME, what is this GNOME? What is changing? What is going on?
Yeah. And OMG Ubuntu is a great outlet to cover all that stuff. And if you think about it, it's going to be way more stuff for OMG Ubuntu in a sense, because you have the entire GNOME community worth of stuff now.
Right.
All right. So this is the feature I've been waiting for a while. Don't make fun of me. It really makes a difference. I know a lot of you have made fun of me before when I've talked about this, but the BFQ IO scheduler is queued for Linux 4.12. BFQ has been in development for years now. It's the budget fair queuing IO scheduler. So this is the little bit of Linux code in there that manages the priority and IO disk queue. So you can actually, under Linux, change the IO scheduler on the fly. And by default, Linux ships with the completely fair schedule. Pretty great. It's fine. I actually don't think it's a scheduler designed in the SSD age. Now, this is my personal opinion. I'm not saying that's actually the truth. My personal opinion is, if you've ever noticed, like, you launch Chrome and you launch the terminal, and sometimes something's a little stuttery or things take a little bit longer to load than they maybe did under Windows, that, in my opinion, is the completely fair scheduler, because when I switch out to BFQ, totally different performance for application loads. You won't have a huge all of a sudden disk I/O completely slow down X. I don't know if you've ever noticed especially if you're on spinning Rust. You really notice it on spinning Rust, where a lot of disk I/O can just lock up the UI, like even just like maximizing a window.
Or closing a program that you know is causing the lockup.
Yeah. BFQ resolves a lot of that the way it handles disk I/O scheduling. In fact, I'm not the only one that thinks this. Manjaro's been shipping it as the default I/O scheduler now for like a couple of years. And a lot of people switch it out. So BF Scheduler has been in the works for a while. So I've tried it on and off. It won't be the default scheduler, but it'll be really easy to turn it on. There's also a couple other schedules, NOOP and Deadline Scheduler. I know I'm getting in the weeds here with this, but I find it to be really fascinating. And I even did a little breakdown of why I like it. If you're if you're curious. So the BFQ scheduler has a low latency scheduler, which is great for interactive applications. So basically anything in X. It has low latency, soft real-time application support. It has higher speed for like things that do a lot of little file access, like building an application. So if you build things from the AUR or you're a developer, it supports higher throughput disks. I think better. This is my opinion again.
Right.
Than the completely fair. And it has something that I'm not familiar with, but sounds fascinating: delayed bandwidth guarantees. So like if you're willing to, hey bro, I know what you need is not urgent. So if you can hang on for 5 milliseconds, I'll hook you up with a full bandwidth access. And it's like, I don't exactly understand how it works, but I find it to be fascinating. That part of it. That's the one part I was like, that's over my head, but geez, that sounds genius. Anyways, coming soon to a Linux kernel near you, version 4.12 won't be default, but it'll at least be baked in, because right now you've had to patch or like go get a special kernel from the AUR or use a distro like Manjaro. It hasn't been just... and Noah, just personal note, the first time I ever tried it was on Fedora.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's true.
That's the nice thing about using those bleeding edge distributions with remarkable stability is you can try out these new features and not have them blow up on you.
Are you trying to trigger me right now? You know what triggers me? Triggers me with happiness, the All Good Things t-shirt. So a lot of you asked. We're finally doing it. We should have done it sooner, but for a couple of more days, you can go to teespring.com/allgoodthings and get a commemorative last t-shirt, a special one-time going away logo edition. Tux looking very dapper with his beard, and the 11-year runtime stamped at the bottom of the logo. T-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve shirts. Grab them while they're still available. I think it's on sale until May 8th.
Oh, nice. So you could get them at Linux Fest then.
You might be able to. You might be able. I've actually there was a batch that I don't know if you'll get them that soon. It depends on when Teespring ships them.
No, I mean you could order them if you came to Linux Fest and let's say you're living under a rock for the last month.
Well, look at Turth here. Turth already got. I can't quite see the beard there, but Turth there in the chat room.
Nice.
He already got his. He was in the first batch. That beard looks great. I don't know. We should have thought. Why it took the Linux Action Show 11 years to figure out that a beard should be on Tux? I can't explain that. But now that it's happened, I feel like this is how Tux has to look.
There you go.
You can't shave the
world is now complete.
Yeah, that's at teespring.com/allgoodthings for a few more days. Multiple colors. Noah, you so often do black. You should do like a blue, maybe a purple. What about a red?
No, I'm not doing a purple.
What about red?
I have red. I have a red. My last 200 sweatshirt or whatever.
I would think somebody from Grand Forks too. You'd wear hoodies.
No, I don't wear hoodies. They're not very professional,
Yeah,
if you did polos, I do a polo, but I do it like a zip up.
If Teespring did polos, I would do it.
Yeah,
I agree. Every now and then they do zip up jackets, but it's kind of sad because this is going to be like the last swag. This is it's like the last thing we're ever doing. So there won't be an opportunity for us to do a polo. This is kind of it.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of sad.
It's too bad we couldn't have thought of a T word to go after Linux Action Show.
For last?
Yeah.
What about, I got nothing.
Yeah,
nothing. Tuberculosis is a horrible idea. It's a horrible
Every time
idea.
I hear that, I think of that, never mind.
What?
It's a YouTube video, but I did the calculation on how long it would take me to explain that story and then realized it's probably not appropriate.
Abort while you still can. Abort while you still can.
But I'll show you afterwards.
Oh, all right. Yeah. All right, so teespring.com/allgoodthings if you'd like to see that. And also check out Linux Unplugged. We'll have some more news coverage in Tuesday's episode of the Linux Unplugged program. But it's time for us to tell you the story of woes and wins with our laptops this week. We have an interesting tale of laptops. In fact, the two laptops sitting in front of us, if you would have asked us 2 weeks ago if we would ever even seen these laptops, we would have said no. No, it was deep down in the process and muck that we'll get to in just a moment, and I was lost in the woods. I'm looking over at a graveyard. We'll get more into this graveyard as we go into the show. There's a lot to cover here, and then I'm going to give you the results after I've been using this $10,000 Dell laptop for a couple of weeks. A $10,000 Dell laptop with unbelievable specs. I'll tell you about all of that too. First, I want to thank Linux Academy for sponsoring this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. You can support the show. There's no promo code required. You just go to linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Somebody was in the subreddit just last night saying, what's the promo code? You go to linuxacademy.com/unplugged. You can sign up for a free 7-day trial and support the show. It's a platform to learn about Linux, and not just like the itty-bitty things like firewalling and the file system and partitioning, all of it, the entire stack. And even the big like corporate stuff that really makes you the money, that really boosts your resume, like OpenStack and Azure and AWS, all of these services now that are built around Linux that the enterprise really uses. They have team accounts if you want to work in a group, and they're really active on social media as well. And the reason why I mention this is if you're following them on twitter.com/LinuxAcademyCom, you'll find out that they're launching a new show called Ask Linux Academy. So if you have questions, like a Q&A type stuff, they're going to have that. That's really cool. They have a lot of in-house talent, including in-house instructors that will answer real questions and all that stuff.
Did you know, Chris, if you were to go to JupiterBroadcasting.com, click on the shows, choose your preferred show.
Probably Ask Noah. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, this actually, in this particular example, that won't work.
Damn it.
Pick your chosen show. Did you know that all of the sponsors and their associated promo codes are listed there right under the show?
In the show notes?
In the show notes. So if anyone ever has a question, that question never comes up again for any show, except Ask Noah, because we don't have a sponsor at the moment. Any other show, though, all the sponsor codes will be listed right there.
That's true. LinuxAcademy.com/unplugged. The reason why it's unplugged is, I don't know if you've ever seen Mission Impossible, but they totally stole this idea from what happened. That's where that's where Tom Cruise got the inspiration.
Is from Unplugged?
Yeah. Well,
really?
You see that hole right there in the studio ceiling?
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was with the deaf children.
No. That was when we first moved in. I got them out of here. I came down in here. Wes was sitting right there doing Linux Unplugged. Boom, knocked him cold with my back of my elbow.
Especially if you do at the front of it, so it doesn't like bruise your elbow.
No, I did this part. It hurt.
That didn't get the funny bone.
It hurt like a son of a gun,
I bet
dude.
it did.
And then I grabbed the Unplugged promo code, went up, and I brought it over to Linux Action Show because, honestly, it's such a great resource for the Linux community. It's such a great way to learn more about Linux. It's a great deal, and the company rocks. Like, they started it because they want to spread the word about Linux. They're Linux advocates themselves. So a 7-day free trial and supporting the show, you can't go wrong at linuxacademy.com/unplugged.
But you had to beat up one of the...
Well, I mean, that's how you get these things from one show to the other.
I see.
It's not with emails and business deals. It's by coming through roofs and using ropes. And
now, just tell me this: did you at least go, head first, like you were held up by your feet when you came through?
Well, it was actually more of like around my crotch, and then it slipped out, and it was just really the sack for a while, dude, and that hurt. That hurt, man. But I was really dedicated. I was really super dedicated to the audience. And so,
how do you come up with this stuff?
And it just, the thing is, it's a stretchy material. So that's it worked out pretty good. And then I was able to just sort of think about something sort of like Pamela Anderson, and it scrunched back up, and it just pulled me right back up. Here's
what you did. You came to North Dakota and hung out with me for a week, and I was on whoop.
And while I was there, I watched your crazy, crazy drama of trying to get a laptop. Now, as somebody who's bought a few, I guess you just decided it's time to get rid of the Skylake garbage, got rid of all your Skylake stuff, and then decided I should probably get a laptop now that I don't have any computers. And it didn't go so well.
So it's funny. I never used to buy new laptops. I bought every laptop I owned, including the last ThinkPad I had off of eBay. And then you guys remember a couple months ago, I bought the 260, and I decided, well, I'm going to buy this one brand new. And it was a great experience. Everything worked out great. I was happy with it. And yes, I decided to upgrade off of Skylake onto Cabby Lake.
Cabby Lake, yeah.
Cabby Lake.
Cabby Lake.
So when I decided I was going to upgrade, I went to this process. Now, the thing is, I ordered the day these computers came out. As soon as Lenovo announced that they were available to order, and I was in Japan at the time with my wife on my anniversary, and so I'm literally sitting there, and I had swore off any sort of technology, okay? And I told her, I said, I'm not going to do any technology, I'm not going to do any work,
except for
I got a message from somebody said this computer came out. I said, sweetie, you got to give me 10 minutes. I just got to order this real quick.
Were you checking Telegram, Noah?
No. Yeah, I was kind of on Telegram. But so is she, so it was okay.
Oh, okay.
So I ordered this computer, and what it was it was $1,600, and what you got for that was 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 512 NVMe drive, 1080p IPS display, a backlit keyboard, fingerprint reader, smart card, a wired Ethernet port, a Type-C charger and dock connector, 3 additional USB ports, and a traditional set-style dock. In addition, 2 batteries. So I got a 9-cell battery off the back, 6-cell battery in the front.
No LTE, though.
And LTE card, yeah.
Whoa! For how much?
$1,600. So I was very excited to see what
1080p screen?
1080p IPS, yeah. So I ordered the computer, and of course, despite Lenovo selling a bunch of computers in the United States, apparently we can't have any of them here. So they build it in China because
that's where the labor's cheap.
That's apparently. So they build it, and then they ship it from China, which of course that can't go anything reasonable. So it's like 3.5 weeks later, my laptop arrives. Pull it out of the box. I'm halfway through filming a review about it, and I notice the backlight on the keyboard isn't working.
What was the processor? Sorry, real quick. Was it an i5, i7?
i7.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right.
7 series.
The only thing this is missing is dedicated graphics, but you don't care about that. So
Yeah.
So the backlight, that seems like that's kind of a big deal because you probably use it in the dark a lot.
I mean,
actually.
really, it was more of like the thing that's not what I ordered. So, okay, fine. Contact Lenovo, which is like, and I contact Lenovo and I said, I want you to replace this computer. And this is where it started to go awry because the lady that answers the customer service says, sir, I can't help you with that. Maybe you don't know how to use the backlight keyboard. I'm like, no, you don't understand. See, it's just function spacebar. And like there would be an icon for the backlight and there's no backlight. Like the keyboard isn't backlit. It's very simple. And she's like, yeah, maybe.
Can you be honest with me? At this point, do you bust out the lady? I own an IT company.
No, I didn't. I didn't because usually I find I get better service if I act stupid than if I try to. So anyway, I told her, I'm like, listen, there's no backlit keyboard. It's very simple. I can show you pictures. The one that has backlit keyboard has an icon that says backlit keyboard. This one doesn't, so it doesn't. She goes, sir, I'm going to need you to contact technical support and get a support ticket. So she transferred me to the.
So they sell 2 SKUs, one with backlight and one without, and she still doesn't believe you. It's possible you got the one without.
Right, even though right on the box it says keyboard English, not keyboard English backlit. Anyway, I get to technical support. That guy was really cool. I explained to him what's going on, and he's like, oh, well, hit function space. Does backlight come on? Nope. Okay. It's either defective or doesn't have one. So goes back. They're going to send me a second computer. So fast forward another 3.5 weeks, second computer shows up. Open it up, same problem. I do the whole thing all over again, and I told them, I said, I'm very upset. And they said, okay, well, we'll knock 15% off. Well, that's actually a significant amount of money out of a $1,600 computer. I'll take 15%. Sure, go ahead and send me another computer. So
meanwhile, you're using a $200 HP.
$200 HP I bought off of eBay, which has worked flawlessly. So during this time, during computer number 3, I go to Dell. And I'm at Dell, and of course everyone makes fun of me because I show up with this $200 HP. And
it was actually pretty hilarious because we're not just anywhere at Dell. We are in the cafeteria where there's a bunch of staff walking around, and they're kind of like, because it's not like a nice HP. I mean, it's okay.
It's not a nice HP.
It's a $200 HP computer.
It's an entry-level HP computer.
And we're at Dell.
And so people are kind of looking at me or whatever, and everyone's kind of taking a crack at it. And the reality is, like, the thing is, the pure funny thing is, since 2009, Altispeed has been a Dell partner. So we sell primarily Dell machines. It's not like I don't have any Dell machines, right? So, so the guy that's leading us there, Jared, goes, do you need me to get you a Dell? Well, I'm not turning down a computer. I'm like, yeah, I want you to get me a Dell. So he goes up to his office where he just has like stacks of these, and he's like, here, set this up for yourself. I'm like, oh, thanks. You can use it while you're here. I'm like, oh, that'd be great. So I'm setting up this. It was a Precision 53 something, 5020, 5320, something like that. So it looks like the XPS, except it's 15-inch, and it's a Precision series. It has dedicated graphics. Very nice machine. 24 gigs of RAM, I later found out. So I take this thing, I set it up, I'm using it. It's great. And then we go to leave, and they said we could hang on to this little XPS 13.
Review unit I had a few weeks back.
So I had taken this, and very early on I realized that the 15-inch was not going to work for me. The dedicated graphics wasn't going well. In Ubuntu Unity, it was getting this like ghosting thing.
Yeah, I had seen this. So like if he clicks on this, like the system bar menu, like for like shutdown or sleep or something, like you would have a white border outline that is slightly like it's like 5 pixels over from the menu box, and it's just this super bright like the box. Shadow gradient that should be there. If it was really long, it would, like if the color of it was inverted.
Right. Yeah. And so that happened after Suspend, so that wasn't really doing it for me. And then the 15-inch is a little too big for me. So I started moving more towards the 13-inch, and I thought, well, let's see, maybe I'll just cancel the Lenovo order, and I'll just stick with this. So I sent an email to the Lenovo rep, and I said, cancel my order. And I'm going to look elsewhere. And so I start looking seriously at this 13-inch. Now, there's a couple things that didn't work for me right off the bat. And again, I'm using 1604 with Unity. And the headphone jack doesn't work if I plug certain headphones in. I have one set of headphones that works with it. Everything else, it has that combo jack where it'll do a microphone, headset. And so when you plug it in, it pops up and asks you, is it a headphone or is it a headset? No matter what I choose, I'd say 90% of the things I plug into this don't work. And I have got around that by just using my Bluetooth headset, which is good enough.
So let me pause you right there for a second. So this here, he's been running the latest XPS 13, the one that we did a review of a couple of weeks back. It's got the i7 in it, and it's got USB-C, it's got USB 3. It's got about 5 hours, 6 hours of battery life, depending. It's got an SD card slot reader. It's a nice light laptop. I'm holding it right here if you're watching the video version. running Ubuntu right now. So this was, so you went, so instead of going from the Lenovo, you were trying this since you had it as a review unit.
Right, and I thought maybe I'll just buy myself one of these.
Now I got to ask you, there's a huge difference though between this one and see the I think probably the number one feature in some ways of the X270, the Lenovo X270, is the Lenovo X270 has a full-fledged, honest-to-goodness, genuine, organically grown, locally sourced Ethernet port.
Yeah.
This does not have an Ethernet port.
It was fine the entire time I was at Dell. It was fine the entire trip home.
When you're on Wi-Fi.
Then I got to work, and I walked in. The first thing I did was I walk in. I didn't even think about it. I just had this in my backpack, and I walk into a client, and they said, XYZ. Okay, fine. I just got to reset up some VLANs. No problem. So I walk back there, and I go, oh yeah. How am I going to plug into that switch? Well, there's no corporate Wi-Fi. Okay, well, I'll run to Best Buy and get a USB dongle thingy for the Ethernet. No, they don't have them. Office specs? No, they don't have them. Okay, I could order one off of Amazon.
And they're a bit of a hit and miss. I've got a couple here. So I have this Anchor. It's a Gigabit USB-C Ethernet adapter. And one of the things I like about it, and your mileage will vary depending on your motherboard, USB-C, so it's bus powered too. It has Ethernet Gigabit, and it has 3 USB 3.0 ports. However, on some motherboards, when you hook up the Ethernet, the USB ports go out, or if you have Ethernet hooked up and you go to use USB, it disconnects the Ethernet. So it's really hit and miss with these adapters. So you'd be buying 3 or 4 adapters like I have trying to get it to work right.
Here's the other problem I really have. The other problem I really have, and I'm sorry if you guys are audio listeners, since starting the SNL program, I'm more cognizant of that now. But this nonsense, okay, this is not going to be a daily thing.
The nonsense being that the dongle hangs another 3 feet off of your laptop, so you have this thing 3 feet away from your laptop.
And I'll tell you what, there's a limit to how much I can do this on camera, but like this flex,
it breaks.
Is going to snap off in 1 week of me using this every day. I mean, we do. So I give you an example. We're open from 10 to 6. Our service calls are 2 hours spaced. So that gives you an idea how many different places I've got to take my laptop, and pretty much every one of them I'm plugging it in. It's just not a practical solution for me.
Yeah. I'll tell you your problem. Unless you have more observations.
No, I had an issue with the trackpad too, but I can get to that in a second.
Yeah, I did not experience that issue. So your issue with the trackpad is,
for some reason, the touchpad gets to a point where it just thinks it's always depressed. And so it highlights everything or it scrolls. And the interesting thing is, if you just Google it, that is not a problem specific. That's not a Linux problem. That is a problem with the XPS 13 in general, because people experience the same thing on Windows.
I've never have had that, and I've had 2 models of the XPS 13.
Yeah. So I don't know what the I don't know.
But I also very rarely use Unity. So I don't know.
Yeah. So and again, it's not a Unity specific thing because it works on Windows.
Okay.
Yeah. So but apparently it's not an issue on Arch.
So I think what you're running into here is all of these. This is my problem. And this is a problem that I have struggled with when I was in IT, just doing IT consulting. It's a problem now when I'm in media production. So right here in front of me, I have the Precision 17-inch. It's the Precision 7720. And Noah, can you tell the folks about the configuration of this machine just a little bit?
So this computer has 64 gigabytes of RAM. It has 16 gigs of onboard video memory, dedicated graphics memory for the NVIDIA card that's in here. It's a 10 series. Has a 4K display.
Yeah.
Has a true docking port on it, so he can actually connect a bunch of a bunch of different monitors and stuff. It's a really great machine. In fact, we actually
Did you mention the 3? So 2 NVMe's and then 1 dedicated SSD.
Right.
And it's in a spring-loaded breakaway, so you just pop the bottom off, and then there's a little button, a little latch, and the SSD pops up, and you just pull it out. So you could put a spinning disk in there, another SSD in there. It's great for projects. Xeon processor, ECC RAM, Quadro graphics, DisplayPort, HDMI out, lots of USB 3 buses, Thunderbolt 3.
It's a foldable desktop is what it is.
And here's what, so obviously this has Ethernet, right? So this is the other end of the spectrum of that XPS 13. And this is the point I wanted to make. So I've gone through a range of laptops. So here in front of me, I have the Apollo from Entroware. It's a 13-inch laptop. Can you hold that for me? I've tried to make that work. In the other machine I have in front of me, oh gosh, it's big. Also big like this Precision. This here's the Bonobo, another huge laptop that I used at clients. I used in production. You can take that for me. And then I know it's a big laptop. And then the middle ground machine I've had now is this 2013 MacBook Pro, which I dual boot Final Cut OS and Antigros on here. And this has been nice because it's out of all of them, it's It's probably got the best. Yeah, you got it. I'm sorry. Here, I'll set it down. I'll just set it. Here, I'll set it over here.
I got it.
Just go. Yeah, not the garbage. Noah, don't put it in the garbage, Noah. Damn it. Now I'm gonna wipe that. I gotta wipe mustard off that now. And that's sort of in the middle, and that doesn't have Ethernet either. I have to tell you, I always end up having the most success just buckling down and saying, all right, self, just carry the big freaking laptop around. Just get a bag and just carry it around. I like having all of the power and resource. I like having it in a portable form factor. So when
can you hold that up? Is that plugged into anything?
No, it's on battery. Here, in fact, I'll close the lid so we can.
So in true fairness, I mean that computer is probably 5 or 6 years newer than this one, but look at the difference in, I mean, and maybe it's hard. It doesn't show up on camera as much as it.
This is thinner.
Yeah, just thinner
sure.
and just
it's a nicely designed large machine. That's what I'll say about it. It's a really well designed large machine. Again, if you want to look it up online, it's the Precision 7720. And I like the removable battery. Here's what I end up getting. I get a machine that isn't just getting work done. I like all of the things about it. I like the removable drives.
Right. That's
great for project work. I like the built-in Ethernet on the back. I like the fact that it has a docking station. And I expected it to be fast. You know, for a $10,000 computer, I expected it to be pretty fast. I didn't expect it to be faster than my 6-core i7, which also has 64 gigs of RAM, which also has 2 NVMe drives and an SSD, which is all desktop components, including desktop graphics. I expected that to be faster, and this laptop running Solus Gnome Edition with the Impatience Gnome Gnome extension turned on, and all of the other choices that they've made, it is phenomenally fast. I can't even describe to you. And I tried, guys, for a couple of days.
You thought there was something wrong with it. It's so fast that you thought there was something wrong with it. You thought Chrome was crashing.
I installed Chrome, and when Chrome installed in half a second, I thought, oh, it failed to install. It was so fast. It was just set up. Everything loads fast. It's such a fast machine under Solus with the Solus Gnome Edition. It's so crazy fast. I could actually easily see replacing my main desktop with this. And I didn't think I'd say that about a laptop in a long time. And I think you should consider. I mean, I know this is so far on the other end of the spectrum, and you don't have to get 17 inches, but I think you should consider dropping the small and light thing and going for like a 5-year rig.
See, really what I want.
Because you end up burning through these things in 9 months, a year. But this is a 5-year rig, dude.
What I would really like, and I was really disappointed that this didn't work out, but Dell used to make the Latitude specifically for what you're talking about. It was a mix between portable and light, and yet beefy enough that it had all of the features that you need, wired Ethernet port, stuff like that, and you had enough horsepower behind it. And unfortunately, I can't find a 13-inch Latitude with a 1080p display, i7, and with more than 8 gigs of RAM. So, and I'm going to work with some of the people that we met at Dell to see if there's maybe something that I'm not finding, because the configuration things are kind of endless.
I'll tell you the bigger problem is there's no way I could really advise any average consumer or home user to buy a machine like this. I think it's in a lot of ways, it's wasted on Linux. Like, there's not a single game I can max out that, and that's all at 4K. Like all the games in my Steam library that are high-end games, I installed them, set them all to max settings, and I think the games themselves are not technically capable of maxing out the hardware. The other workloads I put under it, like the light video editing I did, or the Lightworks editing we did for our Dell trip, the software is not sophisticated enough to tax it properly.
Right.
They don't properly utilize the hardware.
Isn't that a great place to be, though, where we have the hardware where we can grow as an operating system and as software projects?
Are you shitting me right now?
Well, I'm just asking. I mean, isn't that kind of a nice thing that that the hardware is above?
Are you crazy?
That we're not reaching limits of hardware?
Are you crazy?
Maybe.
So that has got to be the biggest snow job on we are still not there yet. That's how I see it. See, that's my problem this is why I see it differently than you, because you see it in a view where there's time for it still to catch up.
I guess I don't have any of the, I don't share your same concern though, right? Like I'm able to get the things that I want to get done under Linux. So I'm not running into those software limitations, which is part of it. I'm not a gamer though. You know?
For me, it's like See, the thing is there is software and hardware combinations out there today that you can buy that do fully take advantage of the hardware,
Right.
In a more competitive way. And I don't feel like the software on Linux, either it be Lightworks or it be video games, is optimized enough to take advantage of it. It's kind of unfortunate because we have a vendor now that's stepping up and willing to ship a $10,000 laptop, and we have vendors like System 76 that are willing to make something like the Galago Pro, which is like this ultra hip developer's laptop. And they're fine for running text editors and web browsers, but you got to go into like these crazy high-end workloads that are like industrial size that are way beyond anything that most people listening to this show could ever get involved
Fair
with.
about that though. That's who Dell built this for. That's why they're shipping this to the bunch of those scientific communities.
Yeah, it's interesting when you get so much hardware, you throw it at a problem, and then you look at it and you go, well, it's only using 2 cores at 60% on each core, and the GPU is barely being even pushed. Yeah, it's just disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, but it depends on. So I guess what I'm saying is it definitely depends on your workload, because there's some workloads that they're gonna push it.
So to wrap up the story, I have looked at every possible. I've looked at HP, I've looked at Dell, I've looked at Lenovo. I am searching for a laptop that has all of the specifications: 16 gigs or more memory, 1080p IPS display, a wired Ethernet port, backlit keyboard. That's and a 512 or bigger NVMe drive. The Lenovo is the only company that I found that. And I get this. The last conversation I had with them, and I was very upset, they said, well, sir, unfortunately, we're only going to be able to refund your money because our policy is after 3 replacements, we don't offer an additional replacement if it becomes misconfigured. And here's my answer to that.
They have a policy for misconfigured 3 replacements?
They have a policy. The fact that they have a policy of what to do after they send the wrong misconfigured computer to a customer more than 3 times is prima facie evidence that you have a larger systemic problem at your company that you need to fix.
Yeah.
This is not complicated. And here's the most mind-boggling thing to me, Chris. I ordered this computer originally on their site, so I specified all of the components. All they need to do is follow the directions that the automated build thing tells them to put together, which is probably a robot. How do you screw that up? My frustration level is so high. So later, Rikai and I, he is going to try and talk me into a Razer laptop. So we're going to go look at those, and we'll see if we at the Microsoft.
I think you're probably going to find that the Galago Pro would be a good machine for you. I know USB-C would be really nice for charging.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing, and again the Lenovo 270. I mean, the USB-C charging, and it had the regular Lenovo thing, so I could use all my old cords, or I could use USB-C. I could dock with USB-C, or I could dock with the regular docking port. Lenovo, ship me a laptop that I ordered, and I'd be happy with it. But apparently, that's not a thing that they do.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
I talked to other people that order Lenovo. I'm sorry. I talked to other people that order Lenovo laptops, and nobody is like shocked or surprised by this. They're like, yeah, that's about how it goes. Yeah, it's just you order laptops from Lenovo, and they come misconfigured a lot. I'm like, 3 times? They're like, yeah, they're not really known for that. It's just cancel the order and then just place a new one, and the recounter starts over again.
I'm left with feeling a little weird. As the Linux Action Show wraps, there's a bit of an irony in the studio.
In multiple ways.
Yeah, we are ironically finally going to have all the Macs out of the studio right after about the last week of the Linux Action Show. We'll be on anywhere we had Wirecast left. We'll be running OBS. What you got there, Noah?
This is the sticker that I put a couple years ago
above the door,
and I said I will stick this on the door when Jupiter Broadcasting Studios
and that is a sticker
are running
that says
Linux.
Noah switched me to Linux sticker.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I get to put this on the door before I leave here.
Yeah. And then the Mac that runs some proprietary Apollo mixer, which I maintain is one of the best mixers in the business, but it does require a Mac, so we're going to be getting rid of it, and we'll be switching to a mixer that actually runs Linux itself. Ironically, as LAS wraps up.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought I would use the opportunity of having this laptop to really go all in on Lightworks for a while and try that and see what there was to throw performance at it. And then I also, just because I wanted to have a completely balanced perspective, I wanted to compare that to Windows. So I loaded Lightworks on Windows and I loaded Premiere on Windows to kind of try to compare. Mm-hmm. And I think I walked away and I realized that the type of editing that I do with color graded 4K footage and whatnot is still, even with this amount of hardware, the software isn't properly taking advantage of the GPU, so it's still not there, which is just, it kills me to be replacing the Macs in this studio and thinking for editing, I still feel like it's about an 8-year regression in what I feel like has been progress in editing tools, it would be about an 8-year regression to go to edit on Linux right now.
Sure.
And I think that number is pretty solid. And that just is too much of a, even with $10,000 editing hardware, I just find that to be, it's shocking to me that even and what it gave me was, it gave me perspective in a way that I haven't had in a long time on people that listen to this show but still can't switch to Linux. Because I'm throwing, in theory, right? I didn't have to spend the money, but I have the opportunity to throw $10,000 worth of hardware at it. I can throw any distro I want. I can even try Windows, and I still found it to be inadequate. But just one thing, and I walked away from that going, maybe there's just going to be some workloads that Linux will never be king of. Like it's going to destroy the mobile market. It's going to conquer the server industry. It's going to be great for a lot of us to use as our day-to-day driver on the desktop. It's just in everybody's toaster. But maybe there's some types of like workloads, because they require such tight control over the hardware, the software, and the drivers that run that hardware, that Linux is just inherently not capable of delivering that type of product. And when I had this hardware to just go all out and still wind up with, wow, I'm still slower and less capable. I felt like I had some empathy for people who don't want to switch.
Let me see if I can give you some encouraging thought perspective. Yeah. So you have Dell that is very, like, I mean, they are ramping up Linux in a very serious way, like way more than we've seen before. It's no longer like 1 or 2 laptops. There are 4 different lines that are hardware enabled, right? I mean, it is incredible the amount of money and effort that they're putting into this, and so they are fully committed from the hardware perspective. And then on the other hand, you now have Canonical that is going to be working, essentially shipping the same desktop as Red Hat. You got those 2 people teaming up, and so the Linux desktop environment is going to get that much better, and software within it is going to get that much better and be available for users. And then you have EditShare in the UK, which is a major company that is making nonlinear editor software, and those guys are trying to revamp and say, okay, we need to remodel from the ground up and come up with the workflow that works for people that have digital workflows. And you have all of these things coming together at one time together, and if even a couple of those things line up and fall together, I think we'd set up. Yeah. I think we're set up to where what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of people that say, I need to jump off the Mac, or because I didn't like the Apple hardware, which is another thing. You get people jumping off, they're looking where to jump, and all of a sudden, just like magically, the timing works out. We have a cohesive desktop environment, we have a hardware vendor, and now we have a video software vendor that are all just kind of saying, we're ready to jump in right at the time that people are jumping up. I think there's a chance for this to work out.
I agree with you 100%, except for I completely disagree with you. So what I mean by that is you are absolutely right in the sense that eventually I think some new product, some new market, some new work case is going to come along. All those things are going to line up, and it's going to be perfect. And I think that's just almost bound to happen over time as all of these efforts sort of start to converge, because it's not just the fact that GTK and GNOME and Red Hat and SUSE and all these companies, Canonical, are working on this. It's also the fact that we have the most standardized Linux kernel shipping that we've ever had in a long time, because the distros are all kind of landing on the same. We have systemd throughout. We have a lot of things happening. We have Flatpak, we have snaps, like a lot of things are happening to smooth out a lot of that, to make it really ripe for some new work case to come along. The thing I think that I've realized about that particular argument is the reason why it never works for existing workloads that are like that maybe Adobe already owns or Apple already owns is those are not stagnant targets. Like while we're catching up and we're going to get there,
they're doing something else ahead.
And so like when I say EditShare is 8 years behind, they're 8 years behind while their competition is also still moving forward. And that's why I sometimes think, in your scenario, if I was buying into the future, I would agree with you. But because there's people that want to get work done today. I don't think it ever actually works out that way, because people just keep buying what's available today. They continue to make revenue. They continue to invest in their product, and that commercial product continues to be successful. And that's why GIMP hasn't replaced Photoshop. That's why Premiere hasn't been surpassed by Blender or Kdenlive, or After Effects hasn't been replaced by Blender.
Nitro.
All these things, right? You get my or Ardour with Audition.
Right. But I think what you're seeing is, I think that you're seeing less effort being put forward. I mean, Apple has put up a lot of roadblocks to creative content producers. It, started with the Mac Pro in this trash can. You had to buy this extra capture thing. And if you look at it, in some ways, it is happening, right? Because if you look at things like OBS is very quickly becoming the de facto standard for broadcast in a lot of different places where it wasn't. And I think as we climb ahead in little areas, even if we stay stagnant in the others, I think over time, we'll eventually get good enough that you'll at least reduce that friction to the point that I think it may become possible for
OBS is a great example. I think very much so. I think the trash can has helped sort of make people look for other places, but I think the only place they've gone is Windows.
Yeah, right now.
And to Premiere and whatnot.
But I think there's a chance Premiere may come over to Linux at some point.
God, I'll tell you what, even if it's a few years, in my opinion, even if it's a few year reversion in workflow, I would, for Premiere, I would do it. Because the other thing we don't ever talk about is, Premiere, learning in Premiere is an employable skill. And if you can learn Premiere on Linux, then you can actually go out and get a job doing that, and that matters in a whole different way than we usually talk about.
But you look at Dell. We know from talking to the people at Dell that there are a lot of people that are in that hardware community that are trying to find software solutions to make their hardware platform
more valuable because people need a reason to buy expensive hardware,
and they know that that they're not having a lot of success with that on Windows. And so as Dell is doubling down on Linux, I kind of wonder if something may not work out.
Well, I was reviewing some of our interview footage, like the interstitial stuff between the interviews, and a couple of times when we were doing the interview with the hardware folks, they're like, "So tell me about what you think Final Cut does better than Premiere. Yeah. Tell me what you think Premiere does better than Light. Right. Tell me why you like." They were fishing for that kind of stuff, trying to figure out what would it take to get this type of workflow onto Linux.
Right. And they have some clout too. It doesn't mean anything when you or I go to Adobe and say, "Would you port?" But if Dell goes to them and say, "Hey, listen, we want to strike a deal. You guys port the software over, and we'll ship these $10,000 laptops for video editing stations, give work deals out with universities for film labs and stuff like that." Boom! Now we're really moving places.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to adopt the dongle lifestyle, or are you going to try to find a laptop with an Ethernet port?
So that's the thing. The thing is, as a company, I don't like Lenovo. I didn't really particularly care for them to begin with. Now I actively dislike them.
Yeah, well, I would imagine. That's annoying, dude.
And on that reason alone, I would really like to just buy an XPS and be done with it. I've done business with Dell for 10 years, and they've never burned me. I've been very happy with them. That said,
Calico has an Ethernet port.
It does, but it also has a barrel connector for the power.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
not.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm going to wait. Mostly, then the other part of me, and I know this is going to come a shock to you, Chris, as well as the entire community. But anytime somebody tries to tell me one thing, I'm going to try to fight the opposite, right?
Sure.
So and I know that's shocking.
Yeah,
I know. But
it's weird.
Because they're telling me that they won't issue a fourth replacement, kind of want to make them issue a fourth replacement just because they said they wouldn't.
Yeah. I could see you pushing it. I could see you pushing it because that is a good laptop for you with the I could see you making it work. Just call up, and what you need to do is have Sarah call up. They'd probably do it for her.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. She's not as patient as I am. She might get more upset with them than I would.
Well, my quest does not end, actually.
Yeah, mine either.
At this point, and I don't really know where I'll wind up. It's fun in some sense to try to figure it out because I imagine there's other people out there in the industry that are trying to get this. So it's the hosts of Linux Action Show going through this in some way are valuable because it gives us sort of perspective on other people that are trying to do this.
Right.
So I'm glad in some ways that we're doing it, but in other ways I'm like I just want to get to work. And I feel like I haven't been able to edit since we got back from Dell because I don't have a machine I want to edit on.
I'll say this too. I want to I guess express some empathy and some pity for some of our viewers out there, because the reality is that you and I are very blessed to have access to a lot of machines that that we can try and play and see how things work out, that other people that just not in they have no way to do that. So between the two of us, we have managed to go from everything from the entry level $200 HP all the way up to a $10,000 laptop and just about every laptop in between and see how things work out and then be able to present that. So can you imagine doing this where you have maybe $1,000 to spend one time?
Yeah. That's why these little details, I think they really matter, and the little shortcomings and the little positives really matter too.
Yeah,
and that's why we try to cover it. But okay, that's the Linux Action Show's look at our woes and wins with recent Linux laptops. And now it's time for
the picks.
That's right. We've been waiting all episode to tell you what runs Linux. You're gonna love this one, Noah. This cloud-enabled Wi-Fi router runs Linux.
Go ahead, Cloud Connected Chris. Tell me what this Cloud Connected router running cloud stuff.
It runs Debian Linux, and it has just recently added very nice and very robust VPN support. So how about that? I know you like robust VPN support. It's a Rokos. It's R-O-O. No, I'm sorry, single O. R-O-K-O-S.
Isn't it GOS?
I need you.
QoS? Okay. All right.
I need you to look at that right there. See that right there?
Yeah.
R, I need you to read that. What's it say? What's that? Is that a G or an R? Right there.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Right there.
All right.
Right there.
Okay. It's not touchscreen, just so you know.
Is it a G or an R?
I think it's.
I think it's an R.
I think it's probably an R.
Rokos Core. It's a pretty fancy little like consumer type deal. It's got a Gigabit hub built into the son of a gun.
Dude, there's no R in there. Seriously, I'm agreeing with you because I'm afraid to. But look, there's no R. There's
right there. R-O-K-O-S.
That's not a. That's a Q.
Oh yeah, Q. Yeah,
I thought that's what you were saying.
But you said G. Welcome to.
Doesn't matter how you say it.
Welcome to the Dyslexia Action Show, where we attempt to read instead of cover news. This is why we had to shut it down, because we could never figure out. We could never learn how to read.
I was thinking it was because there was too much cloud.
Yeah, it was way too much cloud. So it's an Android device that runs Debian, they say. No, actually, it supports Android devices and iOS devices to manage it. It's got dynamic DNS, so that way if your ISP be changing your IP, it'll handle that. 4 gigabit Ethernet ports, as well as USB 3 and an HDMI port. It also offers Wi-Fi.
What in the world do you need an HDMI port for in your router?
Think about it, dude. Maybe it could also be a little media set-top box or something. It's got a 1 gigabyte Debian Linux stack on it, so you got room to put Kodi on there. I mean, OVS, and includes packages like MondoDB, obviously Squid, Bind, Nginx, IPperf, and your favorite, OpenVPN. So people that are worried about like their ISP selling their information and stuff. So with the cloud, so you're probably wondering, hey, Chris, what does the cloud stuff do? Yeah. Well, you can do things like limit kids' internet usage time. You get reporting features. You can set up your VPN stuff real easy peasy. You pay $89 for activation plus 17 monthly service for 12 months. Or you can just purchase the device outright.
So not only is it a cloud, it's a cloud subscription service.
Yeah, but they will do, they'll let you set parental controls. They'll do regular old updates, good old-fashioned updates for you. And all that kind of stuff. And you could manage it from an app, Noah, from an app.
In my day, son, we had a console port with an RS-232 DB9 connector, and you plug that in, and you set the baud rate, and you did your configuration from a terminal. And if the cable came out, then you plugged it back in, because it was just a serial string. I'm just not...
No, we used to call the Intel Atom chip Mattel inside, and I wouldn't be caught dead with an Intel on my edge.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm not.
Yeah, you're not buying
the cloud. Yeah, just.
It's weird. It's like I thought maybe you'd have a different reaction somehow.
No,
I thought
my reaction to the cloud is always.
I thought maybe
the
HDMI port would push it over for you. I thought maybe the $20 a month service would do it for you. I thought that'd surely get you excited.
That's it gets me excited. All right, just you know. In the I want to strangle the people that made this kind of.
It also has a random SATA port on it. Just right there. You see that?
That's good.
That's good. So
one thing I really like about my Edge device that's responsible for the security of my entire network is ability to put data in and out of the device.
Well, you might want to put Kodi on it.
Oh, yeah. That's what I want on my Edge device is Kodi. Yes.
Yeah. Or maybe actually save some time and put Plex on there.
Let me tell you what doesn't save some time.
What's that?
Counterattack. Have you heard of this?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So
is this one of them video games?
You remember Race the Sun, right?
Yeah, of course I do. I'm a fan of Race the Sun.
Race the Sun is a great program for just, I want to have mindless entertainment. I want to sit down and I want to think about nothing and just play. That's what Race the Sun is. Counterattack, very much the same thing. It is a completely mindless side-scroller
space shooter.
You go and you shoot things. Did you ever play Math Blaster back in the day?
Yeah.
Math Blaster. It reminds me a lot of Math Blaster.
Yeah, okay.
You just go and you shoot these little things as they come towards you.
Up to 8-player online co-op.
Yeah, that's great.
Whoa, that's kind of cool. This reminds me of an old like Super NES or NES style game if it had modern graphics. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, and if you don't play on the cloud, then there's no cloud required. You can just play the game.
Oh, you're doing the cloud. You're doing the cloud thing again. So that's Counterattack. It's in the Steam store. Came out about a year ago. It's $8. So that's not bad. I thought maybe I had to solve a problem.
Okay.
I had to solve, legit solve a problem. I had to solve Steam on 4K. On this 17-inch screen on a 4K display, Steam is itty-bitty tiny, which in some ways is actually really nice because I can just put it like in a small spot on my screen. It doesn't take up a whole. I kind of like that. I actually kind of like it being all scaled down, but you can't read jack. So there is a theme that I have linked in the show notes, and it doesn't do much, but it does give everything a slightly larger font size. The menus, the store text, everything, your library text. So it's a little easier to read the names of things, and it's not very hard to install it.
Do you know what I did with this beautiful, crisp 4K display that Dell is loading me? I changed the resolution to 1080p. I did. And the thing is, there's a lot of people, yourself included, even myself, that said, you can't set the resolution down anymore. It'll become all fuzzy. It actually, if I told you.
I would not have known.
If I told you this is a 1080p display, you'd go, oh, it's a 1080p display.
It looks like it's running at native resolution. Whatever black magic they did to make that happen, because when I try to set this thing to a lower resolution, I get bars on the side of my screen.
Yeah.
I get native res or nothing.
I'm a real fan of 1080p. And the real thing is even if everything was perfectly optimized for 4K, I don't personally believe that 4K belongs on a 13-inch display. I think that the resolution to screen ratio on a 13-inch is too much. And
what you need, brah, is you just need everything pixel doubled on a 13-inch, and it looks good. It looks real good, brah. Have you seen Ubuntu Mate has high DPI screenshots?
Yeah, but there are certain applications that won't respect that. So like my Simple Help Technician console, because it's a Java app.
Oh, come on. You're coming at me with this.
I'm just telling you, man. This is
how are you going to run that on Wayland, too? That's probably going to work great on Wayland.
Probably is.
You just enjoy that.
Hey, should we try it?
Yeah, we could. It's got Intel graphics.
I think we should try it.
We could try it. We could give it we should find out. At some point it's going to matter what apps don't work anymore under that kind of stuff. It's going to matter. All right. So, you know what else matters? The cloud. Turns out it does matter. Despite what Noah tells you, there's only one way to make it better. And I think Noah would agree on this. Roll it on your own, under your own control, on your own terms, on a great infrastructure.
That's right.
DigitalOcean. Go over to digitalocean.com and sign up. And when you sign up, apply our promo code, here's the thing, all one word, and you'll get a $10 credit. They have a great infrastructure. It's all Linux-based.
Nice.
They're using KVM, the one true virtualizer hypervisor.
The one true virtualizer.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying. Just saying. I mean, you could use Hyper-V, I guess. They got SSDs for all of the storage, including the block storage, which you can attach from 1 terabyte up to 16 terabytes. 1 gigabyte. They have machines that run from 512 megs of RAM up to 220-something gigs of RAM. It's such a slick system, and they wrap it all up with this really nice interface. They really went all out with this. I don't really think there's many other people that have ever been able to compete. And I'm talking like after years and years and years and years and years of virtualization being a thing, nobody got this right. One of the new features they've rolled out, and you can learn more about it at their site, is monitoring. Huge. This makes a 1-person shop or a 10-person shop or a 100-person shop able to stay on top of a tiny infrastructure or a massive infrastructure. You can get drop of performance stats. You can receive alerts when there's problems. You can stay ahead of things if you have clients on here. Noah sitting here has his clients on DigitalOcean as back-end infrastructure from time to time.
I do.
This is absolutely something that Altispeed could take advantage of to see when client systems go on offline. This is something we could use to see when one of the SATCOM servers is being pushed to capacity. And it's just integrated right in with the DigitalOcean interface. It's so slick. It's like the CDN. It's like the high memory stuff, the block storage, everything they do.
I was going to save this for another week, but would you like a bonus app pick?
Yeah, sure.
Would you? All right. So one of the issues that you have is what happens, Chris? What do you do if you want to deploy a bunch of things on a DigitalOcean droplet very, very quickly? Like you wanted to do like the same thing over 10, or maybe you have a client, maybe you work for Altispeed
And I'm not
Technologies.
using the API? Am I doing it in the web UI? Or
you want to use the API, but let's say you want to. Let's say you want.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah, let's say you want to set up a.
Do you have like script foo to make that happen?
I have something better. Let's say you wanted to set up let's say you wanted to set something up in such a way where
I'm so excited
because we do the same thing for one customer and then another customer and then another customer. I just want to tell my employees to log into a web console, click a button, and it will automatically provision maybe 10 DigitalOcean droplets.
You just pasted a YouTube video in the chat room.
Is that what that is?
You pasted
is that a YouTube video? Because here's the thing. See, when I right click on this stuff, I expect
it to copy link.
Yeah, and then that's supposed to paste that.
There we go. Oh, I know about this actually.
So welcome to Commando.io. And what Commando.io is for, I think, $5 a month. You can log in and you can add your DigitalOcean droplets to this service. And basically, it is complete management, a command execution history, tracking, logging. All of this stuff is built into. It's like a dashboard for DigitalOcean's dashboard. It's like they've taken what DigitalOcean had that was great, took their API, and made it even better. And so what we're using this for at UltiSpeed is we have
Works across other providers too.
I'd say once a week, somebody emails us and they'll say, what does it cost to get Nextcloud set up, right? And I send them the price. And here's what happened to me. And I can go back and show you some of these emails. It's kind of funny. Oftentimes, I either won't hear back from people for a couple weeks, or if I do hear back from them, they'll say, really, that seems kind of expensive. And then they go sit down and try and do it themselves, and they go, oh, yeah, that's actually pretty reasonable. But what we've done now is we've gotten to a point where we are able to use this commando.io and just have a setup thing where we can go through and get it kind of roughly set up, and then we just go back and kind of tweak it. It works, to the best of my knowledge, with DigitalOcean as well as other providers too. So if you have a couple other ones that you want to stick in there,
command.io. Nice.
Came from the beard.
Yeah, that API. Right. That's really once you get pro level with DigitalOcean. But you can start. They got great documentation too. Total beginners or pros. It's going to work for you, or in a team too.
Popey's calling me out. Can you guess what his question is?
What's that?
So right after I get done ragging on cloud, then I just recommended a cloud service.
Oh, we all noticed.
Cloud service.
We all noticed. We all noticed. DigitalOcean.com, use promo code. Here's the thing. Noah.
Yes, sir.
Noah. No, I got lots of picks for you over at the jupiterbroadcasting.com/lastpicks, and I think we'll leave all of those up for a while.
Okay.
After we
I think they should be
wrap up the show. So we have I thought maybe we'd do like a little bit of updates on the Linux Action News show that we're doing. Some updates on Ask Noah plus some feedback. So are you ready? Are you ready to do all that?
I'm ready to do all that.
All right, let's go do the feedback. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. And before we go, we want to give you a few updates, cover some emails that came in, and all of that stuff. So let's start with the Linux Action News show. That's the new name, is Linux Action News. LAN, I like that acronym.
Yeah.
I'm all about that. And we have a website. It's very, very early days. It's just a placeholder right now, linuxactionnews.com. Of course, it'll also be published at jupiterbroadcasting.com.
You have to promise me to call meetups LAN parties.
Dude, that's brilliant. We will. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. The RSS feed is up right now at linuxactionnews.com if you want to grab it, and there will be more posted there as it gets closer, probably coming soon. We have a rough release date planned now, and we have all that kind of stuff lined up. So how's Ask Noah going?
It's good. So we have 3 episodes on the books.
It's not 4?
No, it's 3. We have three episodes on the books.
And the fourth one will be here in the studio.
Fourth one will be here in the studio tomorrow. So again, if you guys have technology questions or you want to discuss your opinions on technology questions, give us a call toll free. You can call from any country. I've gotten that question a lot. 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 6624.
1-855
450
6624.
Yeah. And or 1-855-450-NOAH. Yeah, there you go. Live times are, it's 6 p.m. Central. That's 4 p.m. Or no, what is it? I'm all screwed now. It's 6 p.m. Central. That's 4 p.m. Pacific. That's 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
But you could just go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar and have that all sorted out for you.
Yeah.
So
we got a good flow of people that are mailing in questions and telegramming in questions.
Yep.
Be good though to get more calls coming in.
We'd like to get some more calls, and you have an opportunity because it's going to be like an Ask Noah marathon. So we're doing an episode tomorrow. We'll be doing an episode the following Monday, and then we'll be doing an episode live from Linux Fest Northwest. So it'll be like an Ask Noah sandwich.
That's going to be cool.
Week. Yeah.
Yeah, Linux Fest Northwest is coming up May 6th and 7th. Mm-hmm. We're going to be live there doing the last episode of Linux Action Show, a live Ask Noah, and I think we'll be doing some other things that we'll tell you more about as that gets closer. So if you're going to be in the area, I'd love to say hi.
So I'll give you a sneak peek. Tomorrow, you know what we're talking about? Ryzen and VPSs.
Whoa!
Yeah, so it should be a good show.
Yeah, Ryzen's probably a much requested topic.
It's Ryzen, for sure.
Oh my gosh, I see what you did there. You can send your questions into this show while it's still on the air. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact and choose Linux Action Show from the dropdown. Also, User Air's out there too. You can grab the User Air feed. That'll be another show that's replacing the Linux Action Show, and you can subscribe to that. So all of the replacement shows, quote unquote, replacements, if that's a fair term, I don't know. User Air, Ask Noah, and Linux Action News all have RSS feeds you can go subscribe to now.
If you haven't listened to User Air, or even if you didn't like it, now is the time to go back and listen to it, because the next episode that we do, I have from the way that we're talking about it, I feel like it's going to be one of the best episodes of User Air.
Maybe.
Ever.
We got a lot of pent up User Air topics.
Yeah.
We got a lot to choose from.
And we got a lot of really cool things that might be happening outside of that. So if you haven't listened to it before, now's the time to get started. If you have listened to it and it wasn't quite for you, give us one more shot. Check out the next episode that's going to come out, I would imagine, sometime during the next couple weeks, right?
Soonish, yeah. I mean, right now I want to put all of our thoughts and energy into the last couple episodes of Last and Linux Fest, because just that is a huge undertaking, just Linux Fest. So we don't have anything we're not making any major plans for Last, because we just really want to focus on having a great time at Linux Fest and really enjoying our last Linux Fest. That's kind of our plan right now.
Yeah.
But I think with all of the folks we're going to have around and all of the people we have kicking around ideas, we'll probably, I would imagine it's going to be pretty much, I would love to have it the next week after Last. Just the user error.
I don't know when it gets released, but I'm just saying something I would imagine.
In the next couple of weeks, absolutely gets recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the one you want to hear.
So much good stuff we're working on. You can find out live times, like Noah said, at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. You can follow the network for announcements and news and show releases at Jupiter Signal. I'm at Chris LAS.
No. We got a couple more things. So the feeds are going to be changing from the HD feed.
Right.
Yeah, the RSS feed is going to go purely HD. So that's something they need to be aware of.
Yeah, and so that's boy, we probably should have even mentioned that sooner in the show. If you subscribe to the All Shows feed, video feed, all of that stuff's going to switch over to 720p. It's going to be well encoded, so it's not like it's going to be huge files. We've been working on that. And so we're going to drop the 360p video from the All Shows feed. And so the other shows you subscribe to that have video, yeah. In fact, we probably should also do some emails and all that kind of stuff. But I'm at Chris LAS.
He's at Kernel Linux.
And you can follow Ask Noah.
Ask Noah Show.
And I think there will be, it's not really configured yet, but there will be an at Linux Action News Twitter account too.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we, before we get into the email, let's thank System76, because we were talking a little bit earlier about the Galago Pro. Well, that's up for pre-order right now. You can save $50. Go to system76.com. They have the Oryx Pro with GTX 10 series dedicated graphics in it. What a monster. And of course, some beautifully built desktops with lots of headroom and performance. Go to system76.com. Get a machine designed, built, created, born to run Linux. And then when you check out, tell them that Noah switched you to Linux. They've also got servers, which I think is probably one of the things that you land on once you've realized they make incredible great desktops and workstations and laptops. And then you're like, well, let's just go System 76, all the things. That's what I would suspect, because once you get hooked, I've been a customer for more than 10 years. System76.com. Go there. Did they update the Meerkat? They did. It's a new model of the Meerkat. Look at that.
That's nice.
That's really nice.
That's really nice.
With a 7th gen Intel.
I would totally use that.
Whew! That is a slick little. See, we should.
Did you know the Meerkat is what Carl uses?
Yeah, I did know that. I did. I saw it on his desk.
CEO of the company, choice of any computer that they want, of any machine they make, and that's what he uses.
It's a perfectly reasonable machine, actually. It's kind of amazing, especially if you can get into an eGPU. But that is a topic for a future show. System76.com. Go there. Check them out. If you get a rig, tell them that Noah switched you to Linux. Now, there was some BSD question we had.
No, it's not a BSD question. So while you were gallivanting around the nation, and then you,
the nation,
and you left Alan and I to do your work, we got into an interesting discussion.
Oh, that sounds unusual.
And it went something like this. Alan said, "What does Linux do when you run out of letters for the drive? Like, does it just double up, or does it not know what to do and just does not recognize those drives, or does Linux just suck so much that nothing works at all and you'll have to install BSD?" And somebody wrote in and they have an answer to that. And so they sent us a screenshot, which I'm going to paste here in the chat room because there's no other good way to get
Unbelievable,
Chris,
Noah. Unbelievable.
No other way to get Chris a good link to be able to put up on the screen.
Believe you
but what this is what happens when you exceed the 26 26 limit drive. It starts to actually, it doubles up the letters. So you get SDAA, AB, whatever.
Yep.
And so
SDABC, SDAC, SDAD, SDAE. Cool. So there you go. Why does he have that many drives? Did he say?
No, he did. He just said,
that feels like the important part of the email. That
I think it's important. He says I'm a BSD user. My company uses Linux.
A frowny face. Love it. He's got a frowny face for using Linux.
Of course he does. Attaches the output of dev SD star for a Linux server with 57 drives. So I would imagine it's probably a pretty important server if it's got 57 drives.
Yeah. And it makes him sad that it's running Linux. It makes him sad.
I know.
Wow. Well,
us BSD users
Baggio,
love Linux.
Thank you for letting us know. I thought I had seen that before.
Yeah, I haven't. I've never gone over 26 drives.
I could see it if you had like a bunch of virtual disks too, or something like that. It'd be easy to pop that. All right, there you go. And you can send us your questions at the contact page, or just email us directly, linuxactionshow@reddit.com. All right, Is that everything we've got for today's episode?
Now you are free to dismiss the show.
All right, get us out of here. That brings us to the end of this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. It's time for us to go get Indian food. We have one more episode in studio. That'll be next week. And then we'll see you live from Linux Fest Northwest. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you right back here next week. I think the way to state it is there is a huge market for a very powerful machine running Linux, like engineering, scientific, and certain types of high-end industrial graphics. What I was hoping for is that some of the applications I use, like video editing, compression, transcoding, consumer stuff and prosumer stuff. I mean, it's not average people that are probably importing 4K footage and trying to transcode it to ProRes.
Right.
I was hoping for improvements there, and I found really minimal. The really improvements you get were fast disks, and the fact that this thing can turbo boost to 4.2 gigahertz and hold it. For single-threaded applications, that's really nice. But you don't have to go with a specific configuration to get that. I do think the 3 drives makes it nice for storage, but yeah, I would love to have seen more of the median workload applications and games that are available for Linux be able to take better advantage of it. And I'm sure with Vulkan and future applications it'll get there. There you go. That's probably a different way to say it.
Oh, there we go. I found myself.
All right, it's the Linux Action Show, and it begins right now. And by begins, I mean it's the pick segment. Beard in 3.
Get up. Get up.
What?
I just feel like it's on the wrong shot.
I haven't started yet. Oh, I was about to.
Well, you were counting down.
Yeah, and then I was usually to my shot, and I was going to say, and now it's time for, and then I was going to do.
Oh, because usually
we're not in studio together.
That is true.
All right. Okay. All right. Here we go. In a 3. In a 2. And now it's time for
the news. It's not the news.
How did that happen? How did we just have a?
I don't know.
Did I just witness a glitch in the Matrix? All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
In 3.
It is green.
In 2. And now it's time for
the picks.
I feel like normally what I would do if you weren't here is I'd need to go to the bathroom or get a cup of water.
Yeah, you have to fart, and then you have to stand around. Then you put the camera on me and say, "No, entertain the live stream," and then you'd be gone. Then I would be.
No, I can still do that.
Yeah, but
here, no, entertain the live stream.
It won't be the same because see, what I would do is I'd be talking to them, and then I would do this thing like I would end my sentences with like something that you could jump in if you wanted to, and then when you didn't, I'd continue on to the next one. It's very awkward. Much easier when you're here.